Hello and welcome back to Coffee Break Blogging. Now today we are actually not going to continue on our series to creating an information-based business online. We're actually going to take a little bit of a break, and it's only because this is the last episode of 2014. Now, it's been an interesting journey where this podcast has actually existed for a little while now. It was called the blog program, which quite frankly was not the most creative podcast title I've ever come up with in my life. I don't take pride in that. But the other thing I don't take pride in is the fact that I actually let that podcast go to the wayside twice. And then I decided to bring it back and really systematize it into my business. And at that point is when I called it Coffee Break Blogging, and we've been on a pretty regular schedule now for a little while. This is episode 43. I mean, that's pretty cool that we've gotten to this point in the Coffee Break Blogging series. And coming up in 2015, it's just going to keep on going. The release schedule is going to be Wednesdays and Saturdays, so that will be 2 episodes per week. I'm actually mapping out every single episode in advance, so I know what's going to be said. Essentially, and we can stay on schedule. So it's going to be a great series moving into 2015. It's going to remain in the same context that it is now in terms of the fact that one episode is going to naturally lead into the next one. So you cannot listen to any one episode, quite frankly, and have it be self-contained. If you want to have the entire setup on how to start from scratch and move into a profitable business on the internet, then you're going to need to listen to Coffee Break Blogging all the way through, starting with, I'm going to say episode 30, I think is when I started going into the Coffee Break Blogging series. So go back to number 30 and start going forward from there, and you can follow along with me. It's going to be a fun ride. Now, this episode is going to be a little different. It might actually be a little longer than usual because I wanted to cover the subject of productivity. And the reason is because if we want to make 2015 the most productive year we've ever had, we need to be productive. We need to actually get lots done. So what I'm going to do is I've actually created a list, and I've put it on the blog as well, so you can actually go read it there if you like. But it's 101, yes, 101 productivity hacks that will allow you to make 2015 your most productive year ever. And what I'm going to do is simply go through these 101 different productivity hacks. And I might have a few side comments on a few of them. But let's go ahead and get started here. And you don't need to worry about taking notes or anything. Just sit back and enjoy because not only is there going to be a transcript of this episode, as there always is, but we've got the entire list for you that you can go and read. And hell, you could even copy and paste them into Evernote or put them into a PDF, whatever works for you. Here we go. Number 1. Separate your planning from your execution. You want to sit down and plan and make all of your decisions in advance, and then you switch hats over to your worker hat and just start executing. So what I mean by that is that typically the decision making ends up being where we get hung up. So what you can do is actually make the decisions first, and then when it comes down to work time, it's just a matter of executing. You don't have to think a heck of a lot. Number 2, along that line, spend as much time planning your 2015 as you can in advance. This is why I've spent so much time, and I'm not even done as of the time I'm recording this episode, of planning out my entire 2015 content calendar in advance. I'm literally planning out every blog post, every podcast, every product release, everything, putting it on my Google Calendar so that I know exactly what's going to happen and when. Number 3, always be clear on the outcome that you're shooting for with specifics. If you don't know the exact outcome you want, you'll never know when you've arrived. Number 4, measure as much as you can, since you can't improve what you don't measure. I challenge you that pretty much anything that you're doing, you could probably make it numerical and track it. Even if you need to create an arbitrary system to do that, make it numerical, something that you can assign an actual number to, because then you can actually track trends and track your progress, and you can actually work against yourself in order to make more headway. Number 5, at the end of every week, do a weekly review. Now, I do this and I keep it inside of Evernote. And what I do, I just write a general freehand summary of how I think the week went. But I answer 3 specific questions. That is, what went right, what went wrong, and for those things that did go wrong, what policy do I need to implement to ensure that it doesn't happen again? Now, if you do that, then you acknowledge what went right because that's very important. You do acknowledge what didn't go right because that's important too. But lastly, you want to make sure that you're self-correcting. So if something didn't work out the way that you want, then you need to redesign your systems in such a way where that will not reoccur. Number 6, all the tactics in the world mean nothing if not guided by an overall strategy. Number 7, know why you're doing what it is that you're doing. It makes all the difference when it comes to what you're doing, and it also turns all those hows into just a matter of mechanics. Number 8, your life is basically a set of systems. When you're not getting what you want, then you should sit back and rethink the design of the system that you're using. Now, that's an important mindset principle there. It's the idea of thinking of everything in your life basically as a program. If you come from a world of programming, this is a lot easier because you're used to thinking of problems in a logical step-by-step way so that you can create an algorithm to do it. But in your actual life, the things that you're actually doing in your life essentially is like a little algorithm. You might not be programming it with code, but you're programming it with your thoughts. And if something's not going the way you want, you need to sit back and look at the design of that program, of that algorithm, and look at where you need to debug it. Number 9, write out those systems. The more that you can boil your main activities into a checklist, the better. Number 10, in order to have what you want, you have to do certain things. But to do those things, you have to be a certain kind of person. Decide to embody that identity. Number 11, schedule tasks on your calendar like appointments. This is something that I've been doing where I will actually create my task list for the day, but I will go to my calendar and I'll literally schedule out those tasks. So you don't need to have your calendar only be for appointments, or you need to be a certain place, or you have a meeting. It could be appointments with yourself where you just sit down to do a particular task. And it's highly, highly beneficial, at least for me. Number 12, spend the first 15 or so minutes in the morning scheduling out your day. Or you can do that at night. For me, I find that I just don't want to really always be in business mode at night, so I'll do it first thing in the morning when I sit down. Number 13, as you go through the day, adjust those appointments to the times that it actually took to do them. So I have my schedule on my Google Calendar in advance of the day, and sometimes moving out beyond that. Now, sometimes tasks take me a little longer than I intended. So what I do is as the day goes by, I go back and I adjust the start and the end times of those things so that over time I have a running record of what I was doing on every single day. And it's just really, really handy to do that. Let's see. There we are. Number 13. Oh, number 14. Here we go. During each of those scheduled blocks, utilize a desktop timer application in order to keep you on target. So what I do is I run an app on my screen here called Timer Utility, and I'm on a Mac. So if you're on Windows, just find something that works for you. And if I allot myself an hour to get a particular thing done, I'll set that timer for 60 minutes and hit start, and it just starts counting down. And what it does, it helps keep me on task. It really does. Number 15, during your weekly reviews, screenshot your calendar and drop it into the note. You'll then have a running record of exactly what you did that week, along with your review of how it all turned out. So all of my weekly reviews have a screenshot of my Google Calendar right inside of it, so I know exactly what I was doing that week. Number 16, time is your most precious asset, and rather than just hearing that quote again and thinking how cute it might be, I take the last 5 tips that I've given you and apply them religiously because they really make you aware of that time ticking by every day. And it really makes you accountable to that time and thinking of your time as a real resource. Number 17, schedule downtime. It's absolutely important as well. Number 18, work hard, play harder. Number 19, When in downtime mode, don't spend that time buried in your mobile device. It's important to really disconnect sometimes. And I know sometimes I struggle with this too. And my wife actually gives me a hard time for this. It's like, if I'm not working, don't be thinking about work. Number 20, know what your goal is. Most people don't operate with any goal in mind, and they end up just being a feather in the wind of life as a result. Number 21, write out a set of personal policies that need to be kept in place for things to go smoothly. And these things are going to come out of your experience. I mean, when you're doing your weekly reviews and you find something that didn't go right during the week, you should set a policy for yourself. So over time, this list of policies will evolve and possibly lengthen. It's totally cool. 22, if you think productivity tips don't apply to you because you have a regular job, think again. Number 23, don't live inside your email inbox. Decide right now, who's the boss, you or it? Number 24, zero out your inbox at the end of each day. Definitely a good idea. Number 25, but don't do that at the end of the day, or until the end of the day, I should say. You don't want to spend your top production time, which for most of us is in the morning, doing your email. Number 26, unsubscribe from those email lists which are just not giving you any value. We know the ones. If you're on a list and all they do is promote crap to you, just get off of it. It's really not doing you that much good. Number 27, take your Evernote email address, which all of our Evernote accounts have one, and you can subscribe that address to people's email lists, because then you can get their emails in your Evernote and you can read them or even file them away into a swipe file or whatever it is that you want to do. Number 28, add your Evernote as an email contact so you can easily forward emails to your Evernote account from within your email program. Number 29, use filters in your email to move those emails which you want to keep getting but don't require you to actually do anything. Number 30, if you happen to see a post on Facebook that looks really good and now isn't the time to get into it, use the new save functionality that Facebook's built in. You can actually save it for later. Number 31, use the Evernote web clipper to file the whole article that you want to read later into a notebook called Read Later. Number 32, don't go on Facebook during your scheduled task appointments. Those are the ones we talked about that we're going to put on our calendar. Next, if you find that your time is getting sunk into debating on social media, like debating politics and crap like that, just do yourself a favor and hide those posts from yourself. Just stop tempting you. I mean, nobody ever wins those debates anyway. Number 34, silence your phone's ringer. Next, you should not allow other people to control you via your phone's ringer. That's because you're allowing them to determine your schedule at that point. Your time is more valuable than that. 36, the same goes for emails. If you're being notified of all incoming emails, like when it happens, turn it off. Number 37, if you think that you can't turn off those phones or those emails for certain time frames because of your job, or you think that you're going to lose business, then you need to sit back and question your systems. Because what kind of an operation are you really creating if you have to sit there and be on call like that and basically become a slave to the thing that you've made? Number 38, if you have a team and email is just kind of bogging you down, try Slack. That's at slack.com. It's a really cool team collaboration system. Basically works like IRC chat. Really, really cool. Number 39, if you're wasting time scheduling appointments or trying to find times that work for both parties or what have you, check out Schedule Once. That's scheduleonce.com, and it really removes a lot of those complexities from you. Number 40, don't compare yourself to other people. If the result of that is that you actually feel less about yourself, then you're actually harming your ability to even live up to your own potential, and that's a net loss of capability for you. Number 41, disconnect from cynicism. There's no time for it. Number 42, cynicism and antagonism from friends and family is their attempt to bring you down. Learn to confront it head on, see it for what it is, and either handle it or remove it from your life. Number 43, don't watch the news. They've got one goal, and I'm going to be blunt with you. It's to disturb you so they can sell you shit. That's really the only purpose of it, so disconnect from the news. Number 44, Consider ditching your cable television. We did it. My wife and I made this decision about 3 months ago. Now, yeah, we still watch television, but it's a lot more purposeful. We don't channel surf anymore, and it actually saves a lot of time. 45, keep your space clean. The clean environment makes for a happy mind. Actually, usually the messiness of your environment is a direct reflection of what's going on inside your head. But if you clean your environment, you'll find that often your head will clear up. Next, make it a part of your weekly routine to clean up your office, clean up your house, clean up everything. Don't leave incomplete tasks lying around. Just go and handle all of them. Every single one of them is a little piece of mental energy that's just kind of stuck in limbo. Make a list of every incomplete task that you have. Just one huge list and get all of it out of your head. And then the next thing is to go through that list and find that every single one that you could do in about 15 minutes and just dedicate an entire day where you do nothing but handle all that backlogged crap. Get it off your plate. Now, for everything that you can't get done because it takes a little longer than 15 minutes, then schedule it out. Put it on your calendar like we talked about earlier. Now, what we just said as far as cleaning out all those backlogged tasks, you should probably do that on a weekly basis. And also, brain dump all those tasks that are sitting inside your head and do that on a weekly basis. 42, drink bulletproof coffee. You ever heard of this? It's literally coffee. Now, it's got to be very high quality coffee with oil in it and grass-fed butter. Sounds a little weird. It's not. It tastes fantastic. Now, if you just go search Google for bulletproof coffee, you'll find all about it. Number 53, eat well. Like seriously, like if you don't eat well, it's actually going to definitely impact your productivity. Number 54, exercise. Now, if you can't exercise, you just hate it. I mean, I don't like exercising much, I got to admit. Then try the 7-minute workout. Just go to Google and search for the 7-minute workout. It's actually really A to B, only takes 7 minutes, and I think any of us can probably tolerate something for 7 minutes. Number 55, take an hour or two and reorganize your work computer for ease of workflow. Just organize your files, your desktop icons, things like that. 56, use 2 screens on your computer. The dual screen thing definitely is an awesome tool for productivity, and you're probably never going to want to go back to one. Drink water, lots of water. Also, take your vitamins. Vitamin C, ascorbate, is actually an extremely important vitamin, as well as vitamin D. 59, in between your task appointments that we talked about earlier, get up and walk around. Just get your blood going a little bit. Maybe do some push-ups or something. Get the blood moving. Number 60, every now and then, change your work environment. Head over to Starbucks, Panera Bread. This is kind of some of the stuff I do sometimes. But strangely, you'll find sometimes that your productivity will actually increase just by getting out of the space that you usually work in. 61, goals with no action plan for it mean absolutely nothing. 62, any plan must be broken down into a series of specific actions. Now, each action should be broken down until each one is something which is specific enough to be done in one sitting. You want to make sure that each action is measurable with a very clear distinction between done and not done. There should not be any ambiguity to this one whatsoever. 65, you want to consider having an accountability partner or a group. Now, at the Blog Marketing Academy, we have the VIP community for that, and we help keep each other accountable on what we're doing. 66, surround yourself with same-minded people. Now, what I mean by this is not exactly somebody who sees everything exactly the way that you do. It's more about their wavelength in terms of their motivation level and their energy, because that energy is contagious. And if they're slow or they're more like, it's going to affect you. So that's not something you want to have around. 67, hire a mentor. 68, you can't eat and talk at the same time. So in the same exact vein, you cannot consume information while you're producing. Don't be out there trying to read blog posts while simultaneously trying to do something for your business. It's not the same thing. 69, look for any opportunity to leverage your free time to get something done. You can leverage technology to do this. Hint, hint, we all have smartphones and they're very powerful. For instance, recording audio blog posts while you drive. You could actually record it while you're driving and then pay a person on Fiverr for $5 to transcribe it. And boom, You just wrote a blog post while you're driving your car. And it's totally safe because you're just talking into your phone. You're not writing. Number 71, hire a virtual assistant. 72, you can automate things via a VA too. Just because the word automation for a lot of us usually comprises software, but if you automate it by putting a VA on the job, it's kind of the same thing. Do what you are good at. Allow other people the room to do what they're good at. 74, realize that no productivity system out there being peddled is going to be a magic bullet because it isn't the system which does the work. It's you. The system has to fit you in the way that you think and operate. 75, if you open an email, deal with it right then and there. If you don't feel like dealing with any emails right then and there, don't go into your email inbox. And that's because procrastination at least doubles your workload. Use a tool like workflowy.com, I love Workflowy, to keep tasks and projects out of your head. When I do my brain dumps and I plan out projects, I usually do it inside of Workflowy, and I love the tool. I'm in there every single day. Number 78, don't allow broken items to sit around not having been repaired. Like incomplete tasks, these things just sit around and they occupy mental energy. And typically I've found that if you don't fix it when the problem arises, usually the problem becomes worse. It kind of sucks how that works. Number 79, use a task list. Like every day, use a task list, okay? It's very important. Number 80, multitasking is actually a really bad idea and it does not help you become more productive. So focus on one thing at a time, as counterintuitive as it may seem. Number 81, learn to say no to people. 82, in between those scheduled task blocks that we talked about earlier, give yourself a 5 to 10 minute break in between and just do whatever the hell you feel like doing during that time. 83, if you have to take a meeting, set a strict time limit on it. Tell them upfront how much time that you have for that meeting and tell them you've got to go when that time frame happens. That can be your excuse if you need one. Okay? 84, in your outgoing voicemail message that you record on your phone, instruct them to leave a message with the exact reason why they're calling. And what this does is it helps alleviate those people who says, hey, it's Fred, give me a call when you have a chance. That's it. It's just so unhelpful. You don't know whether you're going to call to waste your time or what, or whether it's super important. So make them leave the message accordingly. 85. For longer emails, record an audio of you speaking out the reply and send that audio to them as an attachment. We can all speak a hell of a lot faster than we can type typically, so take advantage of that. Plus, they're going to think that they're awesomely special because they just received an audio message from you. Number 86, consider getting up earlier. Like earlier. 87, don't get stuck in planning mode. You know when you're using it as a crux to avoid the actual work. Number 88, do your most difficult task first thing in the morning. Just get it out of the way, get it behind you. You can focus on other things. 89, don't use social media as an excuse for being productive. It's not really that productive. You probably know that. What you should do is always attend to your promotional tasks and the ones that are going to contribute to your bottom line before you allow yourself to work on things that are not going to contribute to the bottom line. 90, learn how to delegate to people. 91, if you are trying to grow your team and you're the bottleneck, then you should ruthlessly refuse to do tasks that you shouldn't be doing and instead force yourself to take that time to systematize it and hand it off to somebody else. 92, if you can't stop yourself from being distracted while you should be working on something because you're getting notifications from various sites and things like that, then just turn off your Wi-Fi. Like literally just disconnect your computer from the internet. That'll do it. 93, set one day every single week, or maybe every 2 weeks, where it's just a catch-up day to attend to all those backlogged trivial tasks that have been stacking up. 94, learn how to speed read. You can consume a lot more information and do it a lot quicker that way. 95, keep your emails short. If necessary, have something in your email signature which explains why the email is so short. 96, set time deadlines. You will always find, and I've definitely found this, that a task will always expand to fill the time that you've allotted for it. 97, make changes in your habits one at a time. Don't set yourself up for failure by trying to tackle every bad habit that you've got all at the same time. 98. Realize that a lot of those little fears, those fears of what's going to happen if you tell somebody no, those fears that are going to that something bad's going to happen if you decide to take more control of your own time, realize that any of those fears are generally unfounded and completely inside your own head. You'll probably find that people will respect you for making those calls, not get mad at you. 99. When something is being put off a lot or it's bothering you for some reason, stop and confront it head on. The mere act of confronting a problem directly usually makes it vanish. Number 100. Every single day, list out your primary goals, not your tasks, but your big grand level goals. Now, what you should do is name them very specifically and make them numeric so that you actually know exactly what you're shooting for. Now, an example of this would be 100 new email signups per week. So every single week, your goal is to get 100 new email signups to your list. And you make sure that the tasks that you set out for the day are directly aimed at whatever you put on that list. And you should ask yourself, is this task aimed primarily at my goal for this particular week? And if it's not, drop it, delay it, or delegate it. Lastly, and number 101, don't react to 2015. We've all done this before. We do not want to simply react to what the year throws at us. We don't want to just go with the flow. You want to own it. Realize this is your time. You want to have the life that you want, you have to actively create it. You have to do it actively. You have to steer the ship. Otherwise, the ship steers itself. You can run aground. You can let the currents throw you around. You don't want to do that. You want to be the captain. You want to drive this thing, and you want to make it go the way that you want. With that, I'm going to leave you to have a fantastic 2015. I really hope that you're going to stick around with Coffee Break Blogging and get a lot of value from it. I've certainly got a lot of big plans for the podcast moving ahead. But most of all, I hope you find a lot of success in 2015. Really make it a successful one. And I will work on the same on this end, and we will just make it a successful year all around. With that, have a great New Year's, and I will see you next year.